it is. Now, of course, we know that very many of our children are back home. Some will come end of this week, but at least majority are back home. And the big question now comes on the food that they are going to eat and the safety of this food. And of course, and what they should eat during holiday. Of course, we've had very many issues of unhealthy diet, unhealthy food, but also addressing issues of food security here in our country, Uganda. With us is Miss Agnes Kirabo, the CEO of Food Rights Alliance. It's a pleasure having you this morning.
Thank you so much, and good morning, viewers.
How have you been? How is work at Food Rights Alliance?
It is quite hectic. We are living the realities of the Trump effect as an NGO, and I do believe that the entire economy. But the beauty about Uganda is that you can have a meal without paying for it. That is still the beauty here. You can go for a meal, like I can hang around here at Family TV, and I'm sure I can be assured of 3 meals. So that's the beauty of Uganda. That is quite still. The people are willing, and the food is available. It's in the country. We are very courteous. Food is part of our way of relating. But if it wasn't that, the way the economy is performing, it is very slow, truth be said. A lot of entities, we had a lot of flows of funds into this country in that same pathway from the Americans for whatever reasons. So that abrupt cut has had a lot of impact on the economic flows. But we are surviving. I join here to say thank you, Lord, for the gift of the new day and the gift of the new week. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us be glad and rejoice in it.
Amen, amen, amen. So talking about what you said, according to what you say, that the beauty is that at least someone can get a meal in whichever way. Now that means that we are not eating what we want, we are eating what is available.
Actually, much as I said that the beauty is that one can access a meal without paying for it, the reality is a little different, because national statistics tell us that 4 in every 10 households never had a meal yesterday. But that doesn't take away the fact that there is a lot of food. There is enough food for all of us in Uganda, even as I speak now. But 4 in every 10 households never had a meal yesterday, and they are not expecting to have a meal today. And then again, national statistics are telling us how the figures on overweight and obesity are steadily growing from 3 in 2016 to 5 in 2022. That is by average. These are people that have eaten more than what they are supposed to eat. So I agree with you. If again you look at the numbers of stunting, let's say among children below the age of 5, stunting among those children, national average is 26, meaning that 3 in every 10 children will never live to their full potential at national average. But again, the national statistics tell us that in some regions like Karamoja, it is around 5 in every 10. In some regions like Toro, it is close to 4 out of 10. Chigezi, close to 5 out of 10 of these children that are stunted. For viewers and starters, stunting is no longer short for your age. Stunting is failure to meet your growth potential, and the unfortunate bit is that when a child gets stunted under the age of 5, that child will remain stunted in his or her brain for the rest of her life. She's a haven of disease and illness, and if she survives and grows, again, scientists are telling us that that child is likely to be obese at the adult age. But to get out of stunting, the other worrying thing is, again, national statistics sometime told us that almost 6 out of every 10 adults in Uganda suffered stunting while they are young. So stunting is as a result of the child not being fed on the recommended diets.
Okay.
And then she doesn't grow to its full potential. And when you look at government statistics, actually they tell you where the problem is, because we have measurements like minimum dietary diversity. The basic that you have, that a child must be fed at least on 5 food groups every day. And unfortunately, many of them in Uganda, those that meet the minimum dietary diversity are not even 10%. So you cannot expect the result on the other end. Again, the last thing, I'm feeding people on a lot of statistics and viewers.
But they're important to give us a foundation.
These are national statistics, and I encourage, when the census report came out, people just picked, because we are highly politically charged, people picked, which was right also, picked on a few areas of that report. And many of the areas in that report were never brought to be discussed. The things that I'm talking about are in the National Census report. But they are also in the national report called the Uganda Health Demographic Survey report. These are government statistics. The last thing that I needed to tell you about children and feeding, again, national statistics told us that, you go to your boss, that they found out that children between the age of 2 and 5, majority of them are fed on water. Mere water. Mere water.
So you take water in the morning.
You give the child water. Every
lunch.
time you give it water. You give it water, you give it water. So, I have said all of this because you asked me that it seems the people are eating but not what they are supposed to eat. I truly know that not even a child. I mean, in a whole day, why and how should a child be given more water than any other food?
It's what they can afford.
Not even an adult. Sometimes people claim the child detests most of the foods but likes water. So, and because these children are not in our care, they are in the care of other people, so they give them what the children want and not necessarily what the children need to be fed on, which is a very sad story. I encourage you to read those reports and please major in major things, especially things that are about humans.
You've talked about someone feeding on at least 5 varieties, food groups a day. And you realize that a few people can meet this.
Less than 10.
And that is really worrying.
It is.
But why is it that people do not want to abide to this? Is it because there is no sensitization? Is it because of the costs or the economy that people don't, or accessibility?
I think this morning, let me limit myself to children. Let me limit myself
to children. Yes. Because they are home.
I'll come back some other time and talk about the other demographics. There are quite a number of factors. Factor number 1, I'm conducting a study, and this study is about the food choices career women make for their children under 5. And yesterday I was interacting with my data because I'm doing transcription and transcribing my data. And I actually found out that all these mothers that I interviewed, the primary caretaker of their children under 5 is the household. The household. And these are the people that as a country we have neglected. Everybody picks everyone everywhere, and he's in charge of the next generation. But the country, the government is ignorant of this fact. And therefore, we do not have any plan, we do not have any intervention, we have nothing for these households. If we wish to understand the households in the most positive way, away from what is being portrayed on social media and others, these households are overwhelmed. they are overwhelmed.
By the work they do?
There is a respondent to my study who told me she has 2 kids under 5, and the 2 of them, after maternity leave of the youngest one, are left home with this household. The babies are traumatized because naturally at that age, the child wants to be close to its mother. So the mother is absent. That's traumatizing enough. She is, or the baby is, with the person next, but not the mother. And this young lady, the household, is left with a lot of chores. And we all know how babies get a time, they do not want to sleep, they don't want to eat, but they are irritated, they just want to be with their mothers. And they can cry. Yeah. Even I have seen younger mothers crying when their babies are crying. So the household is overwhelmed. And she ends up giving the baby what the baby accepts to take. So that's one factor. Of course, the other factor is many parents whose children are watching us now, because some of them have gone home. Yes. Many parents give the children what the children want, and not necessarily what the children need. Dear parents, we are here to tell you that I think next time I come back here, we are going to elaborate when we talk about the health and nutritious diets that are going to give you an adult that you inspire to have out of your children. Again, my study has revealed that when I talked to all of the mothers, they told me that their goals, their growth goals for their children is to have healthy children and children that live to their growth goals. That is the inspiration of every parent. But parents, you have a different inspiration and you're using wrong vehicles that are going to take you there. For instance, what have you prepared for breakfast for your children that came back from school this morning? Again, my preliminary findings revealed to me that all parents, especially the carrier, that I believe majority of them are watching Family TV this morning, after school breaks, they want to give their children a treat. They call it a treat.
It's been a while putting off steam.
A treat. And then when I interested myself in understanding what comprises of that treat, oh my God, oh my God. Foods that are having a lot of saturated fats, those are unnatural, those are industrial, unhealthy fats. Foods with lots of sugar. A nutritionist was telling me on the eve of Easter that to some juices that are on the market, they are having a sugar content 6 times than the sugar somebody is supposed to consume in one single day. So you're talking it in one single serving of one single bottle, and you're calling it a treat.
And you take about 5 a day.
And the children take about 5. Dear parents, so some of you, your children are being fed not on what they need to be fed on, but 2 things: what the children prefer and what your parents want to call a treat. Again, I'm happy with Family TV that we are seated here to discuss about what your children should be fed on. And it is my prayer that manufacturers and people that are dealing with healthy foods should be the only ones that come to advertise with Family TV. Because one other problem we have is what is being advertised to children. You know, children are very much inspired. They want to do very superstitious things. So they present this particular food with either somebody doing things that shall never be done. They were not even done by Christ, but they are presented to be done by somebody who has eaten those foods. Yeah. Some of them even are fooled that, you know, when you take this particular food, you're going to grow and become tall like me, and yet the food is not healthy. So that's another reason. Of course, we don't forget that there are those that are less privileged, especially in the urban areas. Actually, even the rural areas, there is more hunger. There is more food scarcity. I can't sit here on Family TV and I assume that the Basoga that are growing a lot of sugar cane, they still have land that give them the diverse foods. A monoculture production system cannot give you those 5 food groups. The food groups come from a diversified farm. So those that are entirely dependent on the farms and they are in plantation productions, they cannot see, they cannot access, they can't afford to get the 5 food groups, which are minimum in the day. Then those that would have gotten them, because down here is Nakasero market, it has a lot of food, and depending on the time you go for your stocking, the foods could be relatively affordable. I use the word relative, but we know the levels of unemployment in the urban areas. We know that this morning there are so many households, especially in the slums, they are called ghettos this time, where mothers, they have children, mothers do not even have one food group to start with because they do not have jobs. The father has left the house in the disguise. I saw somebody saying, you men, you have to leave the home every morning and go. Even when you don't know where you're going, you wake up and go. So the men woke up and went. So the woman is waiting in anticipation. So the issues of employment and income remain of paramount importance for a household to be able to access the 5 food groups. But when you get an opportunity, what do you buy? I always encourage the poor, because this is where I'm struggling to come from, the poor. And I have lived in poverty, I have lived in deprivation, I have lived in scarcity. So I need to give you some tips. With the poor, we have to know where to buy. With the poor, we have to know when to buy, such that you can use the same amount of money to give you much more than you would have afforded. So dear mothers in the slum areas, mothers of Kameza, you have to become very innovative, because if he left 5,000 in the morning, you have to find a way of making sure that the 5,000 being left today will take you to the market very early in the morning tomorrow. If you go very early in the morning to any market that is near you, Natete, Kalere, Nakawa, Kasubi, Chibuye, I don't know which other road, Kabalagala, every side there is that very early morning market. So the Kameza of today should take you to the market tomorrow very early in the morning. So that Kameza money, however little, it is likely to give you much more than it would give you if at this time after watching us, you go with the same money to the nearby stall. It will not give you the sufficient amounts and the variety that you would get.
Okay. We have a challenge when we look at our children. Most of them have been feeding on portion beans at school. And when they come home, it's the same cycle. isn't this going to now bring back the other stunting that you talked about earlier in the statistics, because there is no change and this is what is available? Flour and beans are readily available, so a mother has even stocked. You told them to know when and when. A mother has stocked because it's holiday. They have stocked maybe 25 kilograms of maize flour, and then some beans, about 10 kilograms. So take them for the 3 or 4 weeks of holiday. And you realize that they don't have any other option of maybe looking for grains or, of vegetables or fruits or anything like that. And in some homes, fruits are luxurious. And vegetables, they're luxurious. How do you prepare food? Your portion beans, and you also bring the nakati and all those. That is luxury.
I understand. As you spoke, I was wondering, actually, who told schools to feed children on portion and beans alone? Who wrote that rule? Who actually wrote that rule?
We need to get where it started from.
Who wrote that rule? For me, I'm an old student of St. Bali Kodembe, Mitara Maria, and we used to farm. Part of the requirements, I don't know what kids, these days kids are taking funny things as requirements to school. But for us, our requirements was a handy hoe, a pair of gumboots, a peeling knife. I think those were paramount for girls. The boys had to have a panga, a machete, and in addition, and a slasher, because we used to do those things ourselves as students. And we used to farm, and we would grow vegetables, and we would grow green maize. We had the piggery unit, and I know that there are schools that are doing exactly this. So I'm appealing to our school administrators, because as we speak now for the 3-4 weeks, you are embarking on stocking.
Yes. They've already drawn the budget.
Food for the next term. You are already doing that. Please, vegetables are very cheap. Very, very cheap. Fruits are very cheap. If a household, at household level, at 20,000, I can have like 15 heads of pineapples. At least once in a week, school administrator, partner with a farmer, and they supply some pineapples. These kids, and if you do this, you're lessening the burden at the school nurse. Please give fruits, watermelons. You know the beauty about Uganda? Fruits are seasonal. If it is a season of pineapples, there are too many. If they have seasons of mangoes, so please, school administrators, it is not expensive. It is actually strategic, because then your students, your clients, because many schools are now businesses, your clients are going to remain healthy, and then you're going to have your grades, and you're going to advertise at the end of the results. So it is affordable. Please add some mokene in the beans. It is not killing your profit. It is actually making your business. Add some mokene in the beans for the students. Add garden eggs. There's what is it called? Eggplant. Cabbage. Instead of the schools having ornamental trees and flowers and what, can you please plant vegetables and plant fruit trees? Let the school pupils at their private time. It nourishes their mind just looking at this fruit tree in anticipation, and then they are going to perform better.
Let's take a short commercial break. At that, when we come, the advice is still continuing. So as a school appropriator, a school administrator, and a parent, you need to listen to this. We are coming back shortly after the break.
Issues at hand. This is Church of Uganda Family TV. Enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission. Issues at hand.
The question at hand was, who told our school administrators that children should be fed on only posho and beans? And now, after being fed on posho and beans, when they come back, the parents also think that that is the only food you can feed the children on. It is cost friendly. I mean, they have a lot of theories surrounding that. So you realize it is the same cycle.
And unfortunately, some people have grown up into husbands, and the only thing they can eat is posho and rice. And I pity their wives. How can you prepare? How can you prepare for your husband? Me as a Muganda woman, I can imagine a husband that only eats. And by the way, almost in every family, you go to a family and say, these young men, they only the young men in their teens, they're in university. They only eat rice, rice and posho, and then after that, you hear that there is intensified advertisement of portions for men that they are not performing. I don't know somehow. It's because of how they are fed. Yeah. So, by the way, posho and beans is not bad food. The only challenge with eating only eat, because posho, as kids and people are growing up, it has a lot of bodybuilding. It is carbohydrate. It's a lot of it. So because they are in their active age, they are growing, they can burn those carbohydrates and so on. But also the beans are good in plant protein, but they are also good in iron, and which iron is very essential to deal with the issues of anemia plus others. So we are not condemning posho and beans, but what we are talking about is a minimum dietary diversity that is talking about at least 5 food groups a day. In Uganda, fruits, I said, are still affordable. Vegetables are very, very much affordable. If you go to the market here in Nakasero, in the neighborhood of Family TV, the bulk of that garbage here at Nakasero, give it a try after this show. The bulk of that garbage is fruits and vegetables. Yes. The post-harvest handling losses for fruits and vegetables are almost 80%. Wow. And again, the national statistics are telling us that the consumption of fruits and vegetables in Uganda is only at 10%. And now everybody is sneezing. I have a cough. The children have a cough. They have a cold. Hey, the flu. The flu. What are you feeding the children on? At school, but also at home. For us, when we were growing up, Africa was wide. The home was wide. Yes, we are living in structural poverty of some kind, but at least there were so many fruits. As you wake up, the mangoes are down, the passion fruits are down, the sugar canes are there, the jackfruit is there, the what is there. Now, people think those are expensive. People think they can drive through somewhere and pick some food in boxes and give your children. If your child, who is 10, 12, 13, his waistline is as big as yours, father, you are condemned. Because that child has gotten sick because of you. My brother, if you go to the Heart Institute, we are seeing so many children. Now we are having children in Mwana Mujimu for undernourishment. We are again having children at the Cancer Institute, at the Diabetes class, at the Heart Institute. Those children will never forgive you, dear father. So please, yes, give them posho, give them beans, but give them other foods. Africa is still wide. Africa is still wide. Let them have a fruit as they wake up. Let them get out of those houses. By the way, The other challenge again we are having, food shapes behavior.
Yeah.
Some people are very unfriendly. Some people are very cruel. Some people are impatient. But when you root back where they came from, as they grew up, they never ate enough food.
Yeah.
Yes, they grew up in scarcity. For us, we grew up in scarcity of other things. But the food, we would be given our potatoes and we would sleep satisfied with our fresh beans, with our vegetables, climbing beans, and all of those things. So, now the challenge we have, the school is in concrete, the household is in concrete. The school is in concrete, giving our children wrong foods. The children are back from school, they are home, they are in concrete. They are in prisons 24/7. The walls are around them. When those walls you're seeing around your children, they are penetrating the brains. So the stomach is in boxes because the foods are sold in boxes. The body is in walls.
Yeah.
The brain cannot expand. It is on concrete day in, day out. That's why children no longer care about their parents. They don't care about their peers. They don't care about nature. They are cruel, they are unfriendly, they are very emotional,
And they are rough.
They are rough, they are what? It is because of what? The environment in which they are growing, the foods that they are eating, foods that do not have life, foods that have been manipulated. That should not be an African society because at least we do not have so many other things. But we have a Ugandan environment that would humble us and make us very human.
Okay.
But now you leave the real foods, you give manipulated foods to your children. Therefore, I'm encouraging you this holiday. Let us challenge ourselves. Let us go for a challenge. No ultra-processed food this holiday. Let us go for whole food market shopping. Let us not trolley. Let us not trolley. Let us go and have the fun. Maybe
in the market.
On the market. Maybe all of us we shall join and advocate to make our market environment very conducive. Let us be natural. Let us challenge ourselves to be natural this holiday. Let us have the fruit in its whole. Let us have the juice, if we must have the juice. Let it be blended. Can we challenge ourselves these 3 weeks? Just a challenge. Let us go natural. Let us go whole food. You're going to see a difference, how people are going to become natural, how people are going to become friendly, how people are going to become humble because food is humble, how people are going to become real because our natural foods are real.
Okay. Now, there is another challenge. While we talk about vegetables or we talk about fruits, now the other challenge are the chemicals used on these fruits. I think this is one of the reasons. These are things that are scaring away people because everyone thinks that when I take this particular food group, because of the chemicals used on it that are so toxic, they might end up hurting me more. I think that's why people end up going for
the ultra-processed. Even the ultra-processed actually have more chemicals. They have more chemicals. The ultra-processed foods, they have rays in them because they're ultra-processed. They have lots of sugars. They have lots of additives. They have lots, and all those additives and anything industrial is chemical in one way or the other. But I totally agree with you. You see, a mosquito is a very dangerous thing. We all agree because malaria kills. But when you see it on your hand, you don't cut it using a pang. In fear of malaria. You don't bring a panga and cut a mosquito that is on your hand. Therefore, we can't deal with solving a problem by creating another. Actually, the real thing is that people think the other challenge is that many of us in Uganda, let me talk about Uganda or Africa, we grew up in a lot of poverty. And our inspirations were to eat certain foods when we join a certain class. I know many of us, when we are growing up, we are looking at such a time when we shall be buying ourselves a soda and thinking that we will drink a soda every day, because the soda was a rare thing during our time. Unfortunately, when we grew up, we got more exposed with information. We are not taking the sodas. It is the poverty in our mind. So the poverty in our mind thinks that vegetables are for the poor. That's the poverty setting. And unfortunately, many of our leaders, the leading class now, grew up in poverty. So they hate these foods. I know one of my nieces, they woke up and they were being served breakfast to go to school, and they were served cassava, pieces of cassava and greens. And she screamed, "Daddy, they have only given us, how could somebody wake up to eat cassava?" And then the dad was like, "Madam, what did you want to wake up to eat?" Because
scrambled eggs.
They needed that. I think she needed an omelette and what. But I thank my brother-in-law. He's keen on this. So our poverty, we need to unschool the poverty in our mind. That actually what we thought that it is, old-fashioned, it is bad, it is for the poor, it is the most healthy, it is the reason why you are the minister. It is because of how you ate. It's because you are the one in that office, because it is your child will never, I assure you, your child will never occupy that office because it's not being fed just as you were fed. But I agree with you on the issues of chemicals. And this actually calls us at the various levels. Number one, our government to regulate. Number two, to ensure that their extension workers and the farmers are taught. If we have the right chemicals, the right recommended chemicals on the market, and then people are trained to use them, and they use them rightly, then we are not going to have a problem. But also, on the other hand, we should take care. I know many people, when we are from the market and we bring food in the house, fruits and what go on the basket. Those fruits and vegetables have to get into the washing basin. If you're using a sink, call it a sink. If you're using a normal saucepan, they have to go there and they get properly washed and made clean. So please don't give excuses. The reasons why you're not eating vegetables and fruits is not because of the chemicals. Even when that is true, it is because of your poverty mind. So this morning, unschool your poverty mind.
Well, we now see that, it's actually lousy that someone can put such a claim. Now, as stakeholders in this, are there any interventions that are in place, especially to create more awareness about food safety, especially to the parents? You talked about Mwana Mujimu, but are there interventions before your child goes to Mwana Mujimu? Are there any interventions maybe when parents, you call outreaches out there in communities to sensitize parents about how and what they should feed their children on?
Number one, Family TV. Thank you. I can't thank you enough. Because Christ preached to the body and the soul. So I thank you so much for not only focusing on the soul being a church media house, but also to the body. One of the biggest intervention is what Family TV is doing this morning. The Bible is very clear. Abantu bange babuze olw'okubula okumanya. My people
have perished
because of lack of knowledge. For me, as a person who has dedicated close to 20 years of my career work on food, I have actually realized that our people are perishing because of lack of knowledge at the various level. Some people, even what they call knowledge is misknowledge or under knowledge. And it is because our leaders grew up eating food naturally. Even when they occupied the places of leadership, they thought that it will be business as usual. Where we are now, food is a very serious governance issue. There are quite so many things. By then, when they were growing up, the issues of chemicals we are talking about were not part of the equation, and so many other issues. But now they are here, and therefore they have to take responsibility. So the biggest problem in Uganda regarding food and eating is not the absence of food. It is actually greed, it is injustice, it is the weak leadership system, it is negligence. Because for me, I'm the elder child of my mother, and in between us, all of us, we have a difference of 3 years. So by the time my sibling came, I was old enough to know. But I could sit close to my mother. I'm my mother's kid up to now. I sit close to her. I used to hear her say, when they would go for antenatal, there were some rules. If you register before 8 a.m., you're going to attend a nutrition class for you as an expecting mother, but also for the child that you're going to bear. And they were in cohorts. But if you attend that class, you'll be reviewed by a doctor, a gynecologist. If you miss the nutrition class, you're reviewed by a midwife. So women were motivated to be reviewed because of the growth goals of their children, to be reviewed by a gynecologist, a doctor, than a midwife just. And so in every hospital for every antenatal day, there was a nutrition class. It is not happening, especially now. The government hospitals are overwhelmed. They are just recruiting nutritionists now. The nurses and midwives are overwhelmed. Because women, therefore, mothers sneak into these hospitals and they meet their gynecologists even on WhatsApp or even on Zoom. Nobody is teaching them about nutrition. So these are the systemic structural issues that are drawing a very big gap, but nobody is a winner. While the children of the poor are undernourished, the children of the rich are overweight and obese, and nobody is the winner. So our future is doomed. We are looking forward to a parliament where a section of them are undernourished, they were stunted, and a section of them are on insulin and hypertension drugs. That is the kind of future of our population, of which everybody should be very concerned. Therefore, awareness, beyond awareness, what I have done today is not awareness. What I'm doing today is to break the walls around your mind, which is called conscientization. We must take civic conscious decisions when it comes to food. If you go to buy, look at that food, not just as a solid item. Look at its safety, look at its quality, what is its composition. There is a lot of deception and fraud. Some people put things on the pack that are not exactly what is in the box. Some people manipulate expired dates. I was on an event and we were talking about these issues. And people had taken their sodas, all of them around me, only to turn and realize all the sodas they had taken were expired. Some people think a soda doesn't expire. Some people think bottled water doesn't expire. So with all this in our food environment, we need to be conscious, because what you eat shall never be pulled out, and we are defined by what we eat.
Now, as we wind up this discussion, what are some of the take-home points that a parent can take, especially when it gets to the feeding of their children in this holiday, this little time they are with them?
Number one, the school performance of your child is not dependent on how much he is being pumped, because school is not to reproduce knowledge. School is about practicing knowledge, thinking and growing your brain to deal and solve challenges and innovate when you're confronted with a challenge. And therefore, food plays a very significant role. Parents, be conscious on what your children are being fed at school. Be conscious on what your children are feeding on at home. Please, I encourage you to do whole food market shopping. Every food on the table, just look at it and see, can you still understand it? Is it whole? Please, we went for a challenge these 3 weeks of holiday, whole food. The second issue is about the 5 groups. Please, the foods and fruits and vegetables should be in the reach of your children in your house. Let them take a lot of them. Throw away the juices. Throw them away. Don't give them water. I understand mothers, especially career mothers, you are overwhelmed by time. Please participate in at least defining the meal plans of your children this holiday. And dear children, not everything that tastes well is good for your health. Many of you are going to contract illnesses that you'll never recover from. If you see yourself growing so fat, moving like this, just look at your mother in the eye and say, Mom, you're killing me. You're killing me. This is not who I'm supposed to be, because your future is dependent on how your plate is composed at your early age.
Thank you so much, Miss Agnes Kirabo. Wow. And I think the old, even the parents, much as you're not speaking to the parents, you're speaking to the children, it's also important that when you realize your shape is changing, it's not peace, it's not good feeding, it's not money. It should be a check and no. When you see your tummy is protruding every now and then, you should check, look into the mirror and speak to yourself and say it's not the person you're supposed to be. Thank you so much for watching us this morning. Edrine Mukalazi is my name. It's been a beautiful morning having you watching us. I've worked with Jonah, I've worked with Patience and Esther. From the entire team, we wish